We all love Resident Evil. Well, in retrospect, not when actually playing it. And at this point, the socially irresponsible antics of the Umbrella Corporation has quite the storied history. And with all the remakes, demakes, and this, it becomes quite easy to forget the groundbreaking foundations Capcom laid back in the 90s. I want to take you back to the early days of blocky zombies, elaborate why the f is this here puzzles, and Jill sandwiches to show these timeless classics some love. So, turn on the lights, grab the old nostalgia goggles, and a fresh pair of pants as we list 10 times Resident Evil made us turn the lights back on, PS1 edition. Number 10, the first zombie reveal. Resident Evil. A staple in the series now, the first time the protagonist realises shit just got real. You come across this fella grabbing a bite to eat, and then, oh dear. Although not the most dramatic zombie infection realisation in the series, this is one that holds a special place for anyone that experienced it for the first time back in the day. Resident Evil was a new concept, and there was a good chance this was as shocking to you as it was the player character. The blood-covered mouth and the cloudy blue pupils was enough for us to need an underwear change. Number 9. Zombie Door. Resident Evil 2. The one undeniable truth in the first Resident Evil was the sanctity of doors. No matter the dire situation you find yourself in, find the door, and you are instantly given a loading screen ex machina. The safety status of the door seemed to have carried over, as everything seemed standard fare in Scenario A. Early in Scenario B though, apparently not everyone got the memo. When going to the workman's shack, to get the valve handle, make the silly mistake of opening this door and you will get lynched by these two zombies, while in the loading screen. Damn you, door. I trusted you. I will never trust another door again. A phobia that served me well in the remake. Number 8. Gravedigger. Resident Evil 3. Getting jump scared by this ugly bastard while trying to flip these switches is pretty bad. But for me, it was the battle with the Gravedigger that gave me replay anxiety. What made this battle so terrifying is how it comes so far out of left field. Under pressure and overwhelmed, this fight was always a crapshoot for me. All the above is made even worse when you realise the mandible-ridden beast has similarities to the Predator, which in turn is made even worse when you consider the Predator's face is said to be based on man's inherent fear of vaginas. I don't know where you've been sticking your dick. Number 7. Tyrant's entrance. Resident Evil 2. Before he was the tenacious Mr. X, he was known as Tyrant, and he was no less terrifying than the modern day iteration. Tyrant's entrance into Resident Evil 2 was immensely spectacular. Delivered in a capsule via a helicopter drop, he smashes through the ceiling of a tight hallway, and wouldn't you just know it, your exit has been blocked by falling rubble. How's your luck? Most players would have had this encounter as Claire the first time, and if her reaction was anything like mine, it would go something like this. If you were smart, you ran. But for the brave, there was a fantastic reward for downing the behemoth. On a side note, I guess we're just ignoring these other 5 containers. Number 6. Dog Window. Resident Evil. This jump scare is such a well-remembered scene, it's almost a meme by this point. When you really think back, if you played this back in the day, the dog window set piece was genuinely pants-poopingly terrifying. The fact it came out of nowhere, coming early in the game, it sets a sense of constant unease. There could have been no other scares in the whole game, and the player would still be on edge from that moment on. Even though it has no bearing on this list, it is worth mentioning how masterful Capcom's implementation of the dog window was in the remake. They subverted even veteran players' expectations and reinvented this classic. Number 5. Tyrant CCTV entrance, Resident Evil 2. Entering this tight room, you know bad things are coming. Then, the CCTV monitor flickers on, and you see something seriously terrifying.
It's every day, bro, with the Disney Channel flow.
Look, shut up you dickhead, now fuck off!
This is a great little set piece, and I think half the fear comes from expecting something to go wrong. Tyrant destroys the camera like Hugh Grant when he sees paparazzi while holding a tub of beans. And then he traps you in a tight space. Having the grenade launcher by now makes this fight easier, but the setup is still great. Number 4. The introduction of the Hunters, Resident Evil. The CGI may be dated nowadays, but in 1996, the menacing rapid movement, with my door opening monster phobia well established, the introduction of the Hunters was very memorable. They are fast, they deal high damage, and with their instant decapitation ability, the Hunters totally took away any sense of security the player had built up. To make things even worse, previously cleared areas were now infested with these slimy bastards. They made many more appearances in the series, but none were as memorable as this. Number 3. Nemesis Window Scare, Resident Evil 3. The Nemesis was a terrifying addition to the mainline series, seemingly built upon the introduction of Tyrant in Resident Evil 2. The Nemesis was quicker, deadlier, and far more vocal.
Stars.
There were plenty of moments where the Nemesis had people jumping out their chairs, and many of them could have made this list, but for me, the most memorable was the window scene in the RPD.
Gotcha, bitch!
The intensity of the jump scare comes from revisiting the already thoroughly explored RPD and being caught totally off guard. Being lost in the atmosphere and the intensity of the moment, I'm sure many had the same feeling. Number 2. Keeper's Diary, Resident Evil. Most of the moments on this list come from some form of jump scare, but the Keeper's Diary was a more humanising, understated scare with far more implication. The diary starts with a normal, mundane entry about a poker game. The next day, the Keeper writes about how a high-ranking researcher asked him to feed the new monsters that he describes as gorillas without skin. The next entry tells us how at 5 o'clock in the morning, Scott woke him up while wearing what he describes as a spacesuit, telling the Keeper there was an accident in the basement lab and he also needs to wear a suit. In the following days, the Keeper goes on to talk about how his skin is itchy and he has growths on his back. Eventually, the doctor tells him he no longer needs to wear the spacesuit. The situation worsens as he is not allowed to leave and the researcher who tried to escape is shot and killed. The penultimate page reads, May 19th, 1998. Fever gone but itchy. Hungry and eat doggy food. Itchy. Itchy. Scott came. Ugly face so killed him. Tasty. With the last page simply reading, 4. Itchy. Tasty. It's a great insight into the gradual regression the zombies go through. And for anyone that can't go 5 minutes without a jump scare, you're in luck, because the shifty bastard is hiding in the closet behind you. Before I reveal my personal favourite scare moment in the PS1 Resident Evil games, it's time for some honourable mentions. The introduction of the Nemesis at the RPD in Resident Evil 3. These jump scare hands and the transformation of Marvin in Resident Evil 2. And of course, the Jill sandwich section in Resident Evil 1. More specifically, the voice acting.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Number 1. Mirror Licker, Resident Evil 2. In trying not to duplicate picks in this list, I've only picked one liquor moment, and even though I absolutely love the introduction of the liquor, the setup crawling across the window, and the CGI intro, my most needed change of underwear came courtesy of the Mirror Licker. I think the core of the scare comes from the sense of unease. Most of Resident Evil jump scares come out of nowhere, but this interrogation room, with the one-sided mirror and the camera angle, gives you the sense that something is going to happen. The game makes you walk past this mirror, and then on your return, lick her in the face. It's an all-time classic and my personal favourite. That is my list. It's purely subjective, so let me know your favourite OG Resident Evil scare moments in the comments. Did I make a heinous omission? Let me know, subscribe for future videos, and I will see you next time.